Hi, I'm Shem von Schroeck, and you're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi, and welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman. You know, a lot of people think they're too old or it's too late for them to learn how to play an instrument. So I created ForBassPlayersOnly.com for adults who want to learn to play bass because I believe you're never too old and it's never too late to experience the joy and the pleasure of making music. ForBassPlayersOnly.com, let's play bass. My guest this week is Shem von Schroeck, and Shem has got a very interesting background. He grew up in Idaho and has been entertaining audiences since he was just 3 years old. Started out as a singer and as a drummer, and interestingly, both his brother and his father also played the drums. So Shem must have had a very supportive and patient mother when he was growing up. Shem first picked up the bass at age 11 and took to it right away, mastering Teen Town and Chris Squire's great bass lines on Close to the Edge pretty fast. At age 23, Shem moved to LA, where he quickly discovered that being a singing bass player was a very handy quality to have. He met a lot of the right people, he says. One thing led to another, and Shem eventually started playing with Michael McDonald, Christopher Cross, Marie Osmond, Stephen Stills, Tom Jones, Patty Austin, Gary Wright, Toto, and so many others, including a particularly long stretch with Kenny Loggins. Shem is also an accomplished opera singer. He's been a vocal soloist with the Atlanta Symphony, the Cleveland Orchestra, the Houston Symphony Orchestra, and the Philly Pops. He's also conducted several Pops concerts with the Columbus Symphony, the Dallas Symphony, the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra, and the Boston Pops. This is his second time on For Bass Players Only. Hello, Shem. Welcome back.
Great to see you, John. Can't believe it's been this long.
I can't believe it either. It was, you were playing with Kenny Loggins, and it was in 2013. Oh,
My
hang on.
goodness.
How do I had it on Do Not Disturb, and then I took it off, and then let's just keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, I had my son with me, and I think he was just getting ready to start eighth grade like the next day. And he has graduated from Berkeley in Boston about a year and a half ago. He's out in LA, and he's killing it.
Is he playing bass?
No, he plays guitar. Well, actually, yeah, he's a very good bass player. He's mainly a guitar player. And when he plays bass, he doesn't sound like a guitar player playing bass. He sounds like a bass player.
There you go.
But let's talk about you, Shem. We don't get too many professional opera singing bass players on the show. What a fascinating background you have. I can't believe, like I said, the previous interview was in 2013. So anything new? bring us up to date on what's been happening.
Well, I think when we did that interview, like you said, you and your son come to a Kenny Loggins show. And that was kind of in the heart of my third long stint with him. That I had three long chapters. It's like 94 to 98, and then 2001 to 2007, and then 10 to 17, 16. So yeah, that was a great run. That was a small band, if you remember. That was
Tom Breckline playing when you
the great Tom Breckline was playing drums, and Scott Bernard was on guitar, and it was just the three of us backing him up. And on the keyboard essential songs, I went over to the keyboard and I played "Celebrate Me Home" and "Leap of Faith" and all that stuff, and playing left-hand bass, with a reduced keyboard range of the bass, and I have to tell you, that band for a trio, basically backing him up, that was a big sounding band, and we had a lot of fun. And I listened back to some old recordings of that band. That was a good band. That was a lot of fun.
You know what? We said my wife was at that concert also, so it was the three of us. And coincidentally, about a month ago, we also saw Kenny at the YouTube Theater in LA during his farewell concert. And you know who Wade Beery is?
Yeah.
I forgot how you pronounce it.
Wade Berry.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great band. And my good buddy Adam Nitty, you must have heard that name from time to time.
He's a great player.
Yeah, he had
Wonderful
that
player.
gig for a long time as well. But yeah, Kenny was great. It was great seeing you. And I remember when you got the Toto gig.
Right.
That
That
was
was that I was hired. Okay, you ready for this? I was hired for that November 28th, 2016. So 2 days ago was I guess that would be the seventh anniversary of that hiring. So
anniversary.
yeah, that and yeah. Speaking of Wade, Wade would fill in for me on the Don Felder gig.
Oh, right.
When I was bouncing back and forth with Kenny, I had to give Kenny a first call because I was his music director. But Wade would fill in for me on the Felder gig, and then now he's, I'm not with Kenny anymore. Now Wade's doing that, and that happens. That was my situation with both Kenny and Toto following Nathan East. Right?
Did you sing on the Toto gig?
Sing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was the high harmonies above Joseph. That's probably one of the reasons that the factor that I got hired was they were looking for a bass player. Normally the bass player doesn't sing with Toto.
I saw them, I don't know, it wasn't that many years ago. David Hungate was playing bass.
Right. And Dave,
for him singing.
No, not what he does, but great player. But not what he does. But they were they had two backup vocalists that would just stand in front of the mic, and they were backing vocalists, great singers, great people. But they were looking to just make the band members the singers. So they went after that, and I've known Steve Porcaro since 1991, and he remembered me through a Police tribute band that I used to do.
Oh.
And where I would sing the Sting parts, and he used to come to see that band all the time.
Funny, excuse me for interjecting, but it seems to me in the interview we did back in 2013, you said you moved to LA at age 23 and you wanted to be the next Sting. So you've always been a big Sting fan. Well, I guess you kind of got a chance to do that then. Huh?
I say that in the idea of being a singing bass player and performing and recording my music.
Okay.
So it wasn't so much to emulate, it was just to have that type of career was the goal.
Did you want to be Paul McCartney then too?
No. Okay. I was a bigger fan of Sting. I was a bigger fan of other people. Grew up as a Beatles fan because my dad was, bought every album, so they were being played in the house when I was a kid. But I gravitated when I came into my own in my early teens, and I was a Yes fan. I got into the prog thing. I remember my dad played me "Yours Is No Disgrace" on the Yes album when I was 6, and that was just like
the bass solo,
life changing. You heard something like that as a kid, and you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid that just wants to learn, and everything's Beatles up to that point, and then you hear that, it was like the whole bar went way up.
You also had a pretty good dose of Wagner and other stuff around the house, right?
There was that.
Yeah.
There was definitely that going on, but it was just it was an environment of, especially at that time, it was just exploration. It was just like, what's out there. And I was so lucky, so fortunate to have a dad that was bringing this music into the house, all of it, from the classical side to the rock and prog rock side to the fusion jazz of Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock. And then, then you've got the traditional jazz going on, Clifford Brown and Miles Davis thing going. So it was just music. He's bringing Gino Vanelli into the house, and just, this is what I was so fortunate to be exposed to, and then could filter out what I enjoyed. It wasn't like, this is shoved down your throat. This is what you're going to listen to. This is what you're going to be. It was just this like flood of music, and you just swim in the water you want to swim in. And that's really how it was. I was very fortunate.
Were there any particular generations of Miles or Chick or Herbie that your dad liked was it Paul Chambers and Ron Carter, or was it, Daryl Jones, or was it Patitucci, or was it Stanley, or was it,
Well, let's age me now. I was 7 in 1972, and my dad took me to my very first concert, which was Chick Corea Return to Forever.
I
With,
thought it was what was it? Low, no, which
well,
the ring.
he took me to see The Ring when I was 8, which was the next year, and that was up in Seattle.
Oh,
So we did
okay,
that.
but when you saw Return to Forever, that was Chick and Al and Stanley and Lenny.
And Lenny White.
I am so fortunate I got to see them. It was much later. It was like, I don't know, 2008 or something. And I told my wife, I said, this is, to me, this is like the Beatles getting together. Those four, I have to go. I have to go. And I'm so glad. I mean, there's a lot of notes.
A lot of notes. I'll never forget sitting there with my mom and my dad at this concert, Boise State University. Right? And the crew is setting up because Roy Ayers, sorry. Lou Ayres was the actor. Roy Ayers opened for Chick.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so they're doing the changeover, the bands. And I'll never forget, as they're setting up Chick's keyboard rig, they dropped the Moog. They dropped the mini Moog. And it fell on the ground. And here comes Chick flying out of the dressing room onto the stage, dressed in his stage clothes. And he's making sure everything's good and everything. And then he went back. But it was like somebody just lost their gig right there. But that was, I'll never forget that. 7 years old, and I'm just seeing them like drop the Moog. But great concert. And again, these were life-changing experiences that you just there's no price. There's no price. They're so invaluable that I got to do all that stuff.
It was probably right around Light as a Feather, or I'm trying to think of what was.
It would be the album. See, my dad would go to his business trips in New York, and all his buddies would have these records, and he'd record them onto reel to reel and give them to me. So I never saw the album covers as a kid. I never saw Tarkus from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Never saw that. I just had a reel to reel of it, and my dad would record when he went on his trips and bring me home a tape copy of it.
Cool dad.
Cool dad. Just lucky to have that atmosphere.
So what is keeping you busy now? What's happening these days?
2 things I'm doing. There are no days off around here. I've been composing for film, which is my love. I went to Manhattan School of Music as a composition major.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry to keep interrupting. When were you there? Was Harvey S. there? Harvey Schwartz at the time?
Yes, it was 83. It was when fall of 83 is when I started.
Okay.
And
that's right across the street from the Jewish Theological Seminary.
Yep, Columbia is just up the street, and Barnard was just around the corner. And so was Grant's Tomb, just on the other side. But yeah, I my first semester up there, I commuted from home, which was about 40 miles each way, every day, into the city.
You studied composition there?
Studied composition with a double bass minor.
Okay, so who was your bass teacher?
Orrin O'Brien. She's now, or at least last I heard, she was the principal bassist in New York Phil.
I was talking to somebody yesterday. I have a friend, we call each other accountability partners, and we meet every Wednesday and we talk, and he mentioned her, and he does podcasts, Jason Heath, and he does what's it called? Contrabass Conversations and Double Bass HQ he's got. So he mentioned her the last couple of times. So he's doing something with her, an podcast. That's awesome.
I kind of I was officially a composition major, but the Philharmonia Orchestra at Manhattan only had 4 bassists. And I said, you guys need all the help you can get here on the bottom. I play. So I just kind of inserted myself into the program, and then would study with Orrin. But she was great. She was tough, but in a really, really great way.
Did you play any jazz on the upright too?
I mean, as needed, but I was really there to play German bow. German bow, and just playing the orchestra. That was so thrilling. Speaking of Wagner, I remember that first year we played the Prelude to Tristan and Isolde. And that was just sit in the orchestra and play it after having, listened to it a gazillion times. and to sit in there and be part of the ensemble playing it. I'll never forget that.
I loved playing in the orchestras at school. I went to Wayne State University. I went to University of Michigan, and then I went down to Miami. And the very first thing I ever played in my very first orchestra was the Berlioz Symphony Fantastique. And the conductor started with he started us with the fifth movement.
Yeah.
His name was Walter Poole. Walter with a V. Walter Poole. And we played Bartok Concerto for Orchestra, and we played Schubert Unfinished Symphony, and we played the Rosamunde Overture, and
played all the hits.
Tchaikovsky's Fourth. Oh man, I had it down.
A lot of pits on that, right?
Third movement, yes.
Third movement is the pizzicato. Yeah. Just invaluable stuff. But you're just to get back to what you were asking about. I've been doing film scoring, game scoring, and I've had some really good opportunities to do full symphonic stuff. And project earlier this year, not sure if you saw it, but the Vienna, the Synchron stage, which is one of the top scoring stages in the world, and that orchestra recorded my music.
Wow.
For PUBG Mobile, which is a video game company out of China. And boy, I was just honored and thrilled. That was a really unique experience because it wasn't in the budget to send me over there to conduct, which I was very disappointed about. But they, right here where I'm sitting, I was able to attend the session using AudioWorks and using Zoom. And it was like being there. There was no latency. It was like I was there. I got to talk to the conductor if I needed something from the orchestra that wasn't happening. It was a phenomenal experience, almost as good as being there.
Wow. Yeah, you remind me, I just interviewed Kyle Eastwood a few weeks ago, and he did a project of his father's films, and it was recorded in Prague.
Gotcha.
And I think he said, I don't remember if he said he was there for some of it and did the Zoom thing for I don't even remember, but you remind me, just it's incredible what we can do these days with technology, and
it's just getting better. So it's
well, congratulations. That is quite an honor.
Yeah, that was really something. And you write it in here, you put it into the DAW. I use Logic Audio, and it's all there. It gets, orchestrator sets it up, pages, PDF the files over there. They're all ready to go.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Yeah.
So what about the balance of what you do between playing bass, writing music, singing opera? Well, how much of each of those things do you do, or does it just depend on what comes up, or how do you juggle all that?
John, it's about making a living these days, right? So you have to allocate your time, right? Time is a currency, very valuable currency, probably the most valuable that we have. So you have to allocate your time to what's going to help make you a living while you're in your earning years. And I also do voice teaching, virtual voice teaching online. And so between those online students, composing for whatever job is there at the time, I haven't been touring much since COVID. So the live shows have been nowhere near like it was. I mean, the decade of 2010 to 2020 was just a whirlwind between Loggins, Felder, and Toto. Just never stopped. It was just like a ride that never stopped, because you're literally flying from one gig to the other. Well, that life as such is completely changed for me. I'm not doing that as much, anywhere near as much, and I'm home now in this room working all day long. But you got to get the bass out. Frank Stallone is a friend of mine.
Oh, really?
Frank had hits in the 80s, and Frank's a great guy. We go over 30 years I've known Frank. And he does shows with his live band. It's all charts. You read the show, there's no rehearsal, you just go in and play. and he does his thing. So I got to do that a little while back this year, and yeah, so I have to pick the bass up and play it here at the house because the need to do it, unless it's just there's a online session I'm doing, I have to find the time to pick it up and play it and go, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember what this is like. But it's so strange to go from constantly to, oh, there's this gap now, this void of not having to pick up the instrument. So
out of all those things that I mentioned and that you mentioned, which one excites you the most?
composing,
Okay.
film scoring. I mean, there's nothing. I'm working on a project right now. It's a science fiction epic thing, full orchestral monster score, and
Literally, or science fiction monster.
literally and figuratively.
You have a lot of minor, major seven chords in there. You know, the scary chord.
A lot of polytonal things going on. Yeah, it's really, and it's just, to answer your question, there's nothing that gives me a rush like that.
And you can do that all on Logic, just on your laptop with maybe a keyboard.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, my setup is basically an iMac with a controller keyboard, 5 external drives with all my sounds on it, my libraries, and I can access them. And you got to know your rig well, because you got to know where things live on your rig and how to get to that sound that you need in that moment. That's going to, emote the right emotion for the picture, the film at the time. So I gotta say, a lot during COVID, when there was nothing going on, a lot of my time was spent learning my rig, not learning how to use Logic or use the DAW, but okay, build this template for this style, build this template for this style, so that when that type of thing comes out, you're ahead of the game, because composing is time. The producers want it now. When do you need it by? Yesterday is the joke, but yeah, they want it yesterday.
So you get what? You get like the film with the time code, and then what kind of direction do you get? It's funny. I met Dolly Parton once at a recording studio. My cousin had a studio, and he invited me over. And speaking of Frank Stallone, she was cutting demos for a film with Sylvester Stallone.
Rhinestones.
Rhinestone? Yeah, that was it. And she happened to be in the control room with the mic. It was just demos, so she wasn't in a booth or anything. And I kind of opened the door. She had no idea who I was. She had never seen me before. She saw me, and while she's singing, she smiled and went like this: "Come on in. I don't know who you are, but come on in." And what was I leading up to? We were talking about
But you get when you compose, you get time code. What kind of direction do you get?
I asked her, I said, how do you know what to write about? And she said, I just look at the script and give it what I think it needs. So do you, because I'm very tuned into that when I watch a film, a movie, a documentary, a sitcom, anything that, what does the music, did somebody tell them to leave this part quiet and then to put, because how come there's no music here? How come there is music here? I think about these things. Can you enlighten me a little bit on that? Because it's something I'd really love to learn and to do.
Absolutely. This is a fun conversation for me because I love this kind of work. John, it really is about, it's project to project. It's material to material. This is this type of film, right? It's this type of genre film, or this type of game with this type of story behind the game. And who's in charge? Who's asking you for what? Some people will go, just compose. This sci-fi thing that I'm working on right now. It's a guy from ILM who's one of their compositor visual effects guys, but he's also a great writer and director himself. And this is his project. And he basically, his only direction to me was, give me John Williams as if he were drunk.
Okay.
And you know what? At first I laughed, but then I went, yeah, that's like the best direction you could give me, because that works for this. It's such a bizarre story and epic thing that works. And what's come out has been that. You'll get some people that want to go with you what they call a spot session, where here's where there's going to be music, no music here, no music here, music here, and everything is truly specified.
Is that all for the right reasons, or are these people control freaks, or do you get some of each?
You get all kinds. Okay, you get all kinds. You get the guy who thinks that they can do everyone's job better than they can. Okay.
Well, that's in any business.
There's some very well known directors out there that have that reputation where I could score it better than you, but I'm not a musician. Or I'm a better editor than the editor is. So you get those guys, and they think they know what they want. So you have to kind of play a psychological game. You got to let them think they're getting what they want, and you have to find really clever ways to not convince them, but persuade them without them knowing they're being persuaded.
I would guess that in a funny way, it might be actually harder for you when somebody says, just go, as opposed to when they give you some direction. It doesn't have to be, micromanaged direction, but when they say, you got it, whatever you come up with, I would think that could be sometimes more of a challenge.
It can be. Some direction is good. Some is good, but you have to value the person that has the humility to say, I'm not a composer. This is why I'm asking you.
Okay.
And some of the stuff is just, for me, inspirationally, it's just so clear. Like, this is what this needs. And you'll get feedback. You'll say, you'll hear they'll say, even the one that said just go, they'll say right here in that one section here between this time code marking, I want a little less of this, and you have to use your instincts when not to be big, when to be, okay, there's dialogue. You don't want to step on any toes. You don't want to be a distraction. Your job is to just do this, enhance, bring out more, evoke what this thing needs. And sometimes that means being so minimal they don't even know you're there. So to answer your question full circle, it's project to project and who you're working with.
I think if somebody's doing something kind of goofy in the movie, and if the music is like a bouncy, funny, it actually makes it funnier watching what this person is doing based on the music here.
It gives the viewer permission to get more immersed.
There you go. When you studied composition, did you study any film scoring, or was it just a different kind of, was it like traditional composition?
It was more traditional. I was disappointed in my days at Manhattan School of Music that everything in the early 80s and mid 80s they were just pushing the atonal thing, the 12 tone, the Schoenberg, the Bartok. They were just shoving that down our throats. And they were making us do something that I felt at the time was getting away from us developing our own identities. That if something in the legit composition or the traditional ways of composing, I don't know if I should take the time to tell a story. I'll condense it, but I basically, for an exam, dipped my hand in ink and went like this to the page. And connected a bunch of dots.
What do you think you are, John Cage?
After having gotten yelled at for being too tonal, I said, you know what? Fine. And I basically did that, connected a bunch of dots. And this guy's one of these brilliant musicians that could just piano reduce on the fly. And he played 8 bars of my thing, and he stopped and he looked up. This is, jury of my peers.
Yeah.
And he goes, "This is you?" I said, "Yeah." He went back to playing another 16 bars. He stopped. He goes, "This is brilliant." And that's when I went, I'm out. I'm out. Because, yeah, I mean, there's the story, go take what you want from it.
Wow. Yeah. I've already taken what I'm going to take from it. And we'll.
Right. And I had nothing but respect for this particular instructor, this professor. He was brilliant.
Well,
I'll never say a bad word about the guy because I was so impressed with everything he did. But it was a movement of just shoving that stuff down our throat. The staff, the whole production, composition faculty was just, that's what they were into at the time.
Yeah.
It was a thing.
Yeah, I never got into it. It's funny, my classical bass teacher he used to have all the students play Baroque stuff because he said that's the only thing that really shows any technique. A lot of eighth notes or 16th notes. I played a lot of Vivaldi, and I played all that kind of stuff. And he said one of his students went to hear a contemporary bass player, like you're talking about in the vein of Schoenberg and Shostakovich and all that stuff. And he asked the student, was the guy any good? And the kid said, I don't know.
Creative.
Yeah, I've fooled around with 12 tone just to have some kind of framework. And I actually remember this like probably 35 years ago, coming up with something that I thought was kind of cool. I like a melody. I like. Let's talk some bass stuff, because For Bass Players Only is a bass site, hence the name, and it's primarily a bass instruction site. Now, I've got people from pretty much all 50 states now and about 50, 60 countries all over the world coming to For Bass Players Only every day to learn how to play bass.
Bravo.
Most of the people that I attract are men in their 50s, 60s, 70s. I've got some that are even older than that. And I've got a fair bit of women. We seem to be getting more women coming too, but most of them are men. And so obviously they're not trying to make a career out of being a professional musician. They just want to have fun with their friends. They want to play some classic rock riffs or some blues shuffles or some walking bass. And they're not trying to set the world on fire. And some of the things that happen to people when they get into their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s are like arthritis and tendonitis and maybe recovering from surgery. And I'm just trying to paint a picture to give you a little bit of a context. I mean, I'm not talking about 18-year-olds, which is who I thought I was going to get, actually, the college students. But I'm attracting this older crowd, and I'm kind of doubling down on it. So I tell you all that to ask you what advice you could impart to somebody like that who wants to learn to play bass. What do you think they should be thinking about? What do you think they should be trying to learn? What's important for them to know?
It starts with the joy of it, right? They wouldn't be doing this unless they wanted to experience some form of satisfaction, pleasure, validation, all positive things that ultimately give them joy and satisfaction and make them feel really good that day. So I've said this for a while: play music you love. There's something about figuring out a song that you learn on your own that you want to play, and now you're able to do it. You didn't know how to play it. So going through that journey of going, I don't know how to play this song, till yes, I can. And if I got a gig, I could go do this. I could go sit in and play this song at a bar or a tavern somewhere. The joy and satisfaction of that, I would just encourage any musician, whatever their instrument, go do that. Find a song you love. Find a song you always love. You said you're a lot of these clientele, the age ranges are 50s plus. So you've been listening to music a long time. Make a list of 10 songs that you just always wanted to play, Zeppelin tune or a AC/DC tune or Mariah Carey song. Just go.
Iron Man.
Iron Man, do it. I might have to play left-handed on that, right? It was like, no, that was a guitar player. Sorry.
Guitar player, yeah.
The guitar player.
Geezer.
Yeah, right.
Geezer Butler.
But that'd be the first advice I would give. Play songs you love. You can learn so much from the music that moves you. And do your own thing to it. I tell you what I mean specifically about that. I was getting a lot of direct messages from Toto fans going, can you make a video of yourself playing that song? Because I want to learn. to see how you do it. And I said, no, go listen to it. Use your ears. Everything today is video on how to. But I think there's something in the process of learning it that gets lost. And it doesn't strengthen your ears. You see it done, you're not working to get this to this without any visual. This to this. So in that process, I would say use your ears. I'm not going to show you how to do it. You can do this.
All right, but you're not talking about basic technique. You're talking about once you've got some level of proficiency, not how to play a scale or those things, but how to make music once you already know your way around the bass a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
I am. Yeah. Were you asking more specifically about what advice would you give someone just starting out and wanted to take the chance to do it?
Oh, I perked up when I told you that I have these thousands of people coming to my site every day to watch my videos to learn how to play, and I was hoping you weren't saying, "Well, don't do that."
Yeah, that's not what I meant. I mean, yes, there's value in the how-to. I use how-to videos all the time, but when we were growing up, John, we didn't have that.
We had the tone arm on the record and
right, or in my case, my reel-to-reel going back.
That's right. Right. It's on my I have the membership, but I have a couple of digital courses as well that are standalone. And for a lot of those, I have the download PDFs. And some people say I don't like tabs, so I've got the with tab and the without tab version. But there's also one called All You. And it's either the chords and just manuscript paper, or it's just the Roman numerals and the manuscript paper to encourage them to write their own bass line. So it's all about, hey, I can show you what to do, but you need to do it.
Same message, same idea. That's great, John. I'm so glad you got this set up. Sounds like you've really, you really got a really great program that you put together.
Well, I've got some really great students that are passionate, and I'm just trying to find more ways to help them.
Bless you, man. That's great.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you about something else. I saw Gary Wright and Spooky Tooth in some of the acts that you've played with. Was that at the same time? Because Gary Wright was part of Spooky Tooth.
Yeah, founding one of the original members.
Did you play with him, or did you play after he had left?
I played with Spooky Tooth in 2008 and 9 on their reunion tour. That was a European tour, and we got a couple of vans and just drove all around Germany and Switzerland and did that with Gary driving.
Wow.
Gary driving the band, and Steve Ferris from Mr. Mister was the guitar player in that band. Tom Breckline did one of the runs with us. So that was the Spooky Tooth, but then I've also done work with Gary's band, Gary's solo stuff, playing Moog bass.
Oh yeah,
right. The gimmick for Gary's thing at the time when he came out with Dreamweaver and the whole that in '76 was no guitars on stage; it's just all keyboards. Yeah. And Steve Porcaro was the bass player on the Moog for his first band. Steve was 17.
No, because I saw Spooky Tooth at this is before I could drive. It was I think 1975, I think, and I went with a couple of buddies to see Edgar Winter, and Spooky Tooth was the opening act, and then three guys from Texas that nobody had ever heard of, ZZ Top. And so that's why Spooky Tooth. And then later I learned that Gary Wright was part of that band. So when I saw those names on your bio, I just had to ask you about it.
Do you know who a member of Spooky Tooth, not at the beginning, but a couple of albums in, I think he did 2 records with them. He was in the band, is Mick Jones.
Really?
Pre-Foreigner.
Foreigner, yeah.
Pre-Foreigner, Mick Jones was guitar player in Spooky Tooth.
Wow, I did not know that. It's funny. I just saw Foreigner a few months ago. Not a single original member.
No. When you saw Spooky Tooth, John, was Gary in the band?
I was a kid. I wasn't even, I don't.
What year would that have been?
I think it was around 75.
I think Gary had moved on by then. Gary was probably recording Dreamweaver record.
Might have even been early. It might have been 74. We used to go down to Cobo Arena in Detroit on the riverfront. And I saw Jay Giles' band there. I saw Mountain, and I saw Golden Earring, and I saw Frank Zappa,
Wow.
and saw Kiss. It's like about 2 weeks after I got my driver's license, I drove down and with a couple of buddies, and we saw Kiss. Man, that was
The good old days, man.
loud. Hey, what about your basses and gear and stuff? I think you mentioned in the last interview that you were actually building basses, and you
Yeah.
said the one you were playing with Kenny that night was one you actually made. Are you still
Yes.
doing that?
I haven't built. It's been about 7 years since I've built anything, but I have to tell you that last one that I built turned out so great. I almost use it for the Toto tours. I didn't because I got introduced to Sandberg.
Oh yeah, right.
And I've been so I don't know if you were going to ask about what gear and stuff or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I just can't say enough good things about Sandberg. Holger, the founder of that company. I had been looking at Sandberg. I've been hearing blurbs about them, and this would be like 2017. I went on Reverb. There's a couple for sale up there, and I was like, I don't know really anything about them. Well, we just happened to be on the road with Toto, and the opening band for us was the young kids from Denmark, and he had a Sandberg, and I said, oh, that's one of those Sandberg basses. He said, oh, would you like to try? And I said, sure. He goes, want to play on your gig? And I said, sure. And right out of the gate, I got it. I was like, okay, this is special stuff here. And what was great about it was the 34-inch scale bass. It felt like it was 33. The way they make them, they put the neck farther down into the body, so it doesn't feel as big. So the 35s, which I have two 35s, feel like 34s, but it is a 35. It's practical.
Any trouble getting into the upper range? Not that you would do that a lot, but
depending on the gig, right?
Right.
No, not at all. They're the most playable. The ease of playing those basses is just fantastic, and they treated me really well, and I just can't say enough good things about them.
Oh.
I also would love to just plug, just for my friend, Sire.
Oh yeah.
Sire basses. The founder of that company took me out to an incredible dinner in Tokyo. He flew in from that, and we just had a wonderful time, and he let me play one of their P style basses at the Budokan, actually.
Famous place.
And he's just the nicest guy in the world. So humble. Can't believe the success he's having with this company. But
Marcus Miller has something to do with that company, doesn't he?
He approached Marcus out of nowhere. Marcus said, sure. And they built something together, and I can't say enough good things about them. I personally like the first generation the best. They've expanded.
If I played one or not, but the two things come to mind. One is people really like them, and two, they're surprisingly affordable.
Unbelievable. And that was the whole idea. He said, I want to put basses in the hands of students, and initially was his idea, but people that just can't afford the boutique $2,000, $3,000 instrument. I want the quality to be just as good, and you're going to have just as much satisfaction playing this instrument and get the joy out of it.
Okay.
And he was so, the guitar tech for both Kenny Loggins and Don Felder was Norik Renson. And he had one of those basses come through his shop. He goes, Shem, you've got to check out this bass. He's not going to believe it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then I played one, got in touch with the guys over there, and I bought one. The owner of the company was so honored that I was playing a Sire bass on a Toto show that he reached out to me. In fact, he gave me a gift of the V9 and there's on the back is embossed my image.
Wow.
I should have brought it to the interview, but he's just the nicest guy in the world, and I can't say enough great things about what he's built.
There was a guy named Mickey that I used
Yes.
to talk to, Mickey Show or so. I never knew how
So
to.
that's kind of the American ambassador that he uses. He's kind of the PR guy and the guy that goes around. He was my first introduction to the Sire people was Mickey Shaw.
What kind of strings do you use?
D'Addario.
Okay.
D'Addario. I like the light gauge. I don't like the big heavy gauge. So I'm 40 to 120.
Okay. So do they lose their brightness pretty quickly because they're light, or?
You know, if I sweat a lot, maybe. No, it's the same kind of principle when you record in the studio of drums. A lot of people like to use smaller toms, but tune them down. They record bigger.
Interesting.
There's something about the resonance. It's a more focused resonance.
Oh.
The lighter strings for me, I feel like I get more sound. I don't know.
Effects or stuff like that? No, just your
I'm the anti-effect. In fact, I did the last 2 years with Toto with just a flex pedal from GK, which is basically a direct, a DI with, if you want to add compression and stuff, on board that. That was my rig.
Is that primarily the amp you use, the GKs, the Gallion Krugers?
Yeah, I've been with GK for a long time, over 20 years.
Oh, wow. Because I remember back in the 80s when we'd tour and I'd play at these big places, they'd either have the 800 RB with a big cabinet, or they'd have an SV2. And
kind of the hookup was the 800 RB and the Hartke 410.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's combo from like rental places or backline companies. That was always usually what you got.
A couple of 410s though, right?
Sometimes it's just the one. Sometimes I would just get the one.
What about the future? I would imagine you're hoping to do as much composing as possible, but what would you really like to do that either what would you like to do that you haven't done yet, or what do you have in the works that's coming up that you haven't already mentioned?
Well, it comes back to the films composing, the TV, that sort of thing. I'd love to take that to a level where the work is steady, the work is lucrative, the work is rewarding. I love being at home. I love being in this room. I love creating in this room. Happily married man. Don't want to leave the wife if I don't have to. So that's really what I want to do. I will, I'll tour and I'll go do it if the situation is right. I'm filling in with Ambrosia here on 4 shows in December as the Hammond B3 player. So doing that, just filling in just there, and done some filling in on lead vocals and things. But to answer your question, I just that's really where my first love, my passion is right now. And if you talk to me in another 10 years, there might be something else I'm interested in. But at the moment, it's really that, John.
Well, I know it's been 10 years, but let's not wait another 10 years.
Oh, let's not do that.
You do any library stuff?
Yes, I have. Not my own, but I've done work for library companies.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of companies, guys out of Dallas that are really great, where I'll do a complete album of material for them that they put up on their site, and it's a go-to if you need this genre or this. That was a action adventure, full orchestra, big epic stuff. If you need that, you can just pull from that. I did an album for them, Atomica Music, called Action Intensity.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
obviously I'm very interested in this stuff, but we don't want to veer too far from the bass stuff. You have bass in some sort of low end stuff in all your film scores?
Big time. There's a great patch that I have from Heaviosity. They have a library called Novo, which is strings, and there's a patch that they have which is cellos and basses playing in octaves.
Not exactly what I meant, but
But I use the sound. I mean, it's there, and I will enhance a lot of stuff with my own playing.
Okay.
I'll just to get some of that bouncing off the bow, and you hear the wood in the bow. I'll enhance my own stuff.
I was never really much into the video games, except when I was the house bassist at the Hirschfeld Theater on Miami Beach. We'd have a show at like 2 o'clock and then another show at 8 o'clock. And for me to drive home, by the time I got there, I'd have to come back in a half an hour. So I used to stay. I used to do running and all that, but then I'd go and I'd play Pac-Man. And I'm just saying that because I just remember the music. That's about the extent that I got into those video games. But I would guess, and this is a totally ignorant assumption, but that there would be a lot more patches and synthesized sounds than there would be actual instruments. Is that correct, or does it depend?
It is. There's almost, if I'm my style of composing. What reaches me is when I can make what's in the box sound like the real thing. When someone goes, "Is that a live orchestra?" And I'll sit there and go, "You tell me." I take pride in it. I take a lot of time to get the articulations and the things sounding right, because I know how to write for the instruments. I know where they belong in the range area and stuff. So, but for games, it's almost like they don't want it to sound that organic. For some of the things, they want it to sound, I hate to use the word cheesy, but it's part of the vibe of the game for it to sound a little electronic, which is hard for me to do because I want everything to sound nice and organic and just right. But the call is, so you blend. That's how you achieve that. You use some of the organic samples and stuff, and then you use some of the electronic things that kind of thin it out, if you will.
Got it. Okay. So you may not have had all 100% respect for everything and everyone you were learning at Manhattan School of Music, but you did study your orchestration and you went to those classes, and you probably used the same book I did. What was it? The Technique of Orchestration by Kent. What was his name? Kent Kennan or something like that. I could picture it. Yeah.
The Cecil Forsyth book for orchestration is kind of the Bible.
Okay, I've heard it. Well, it's a long time ago. I hit this. How about the Grout book? Did you have that? The music history book by Donald J. Grout?
No, I didn't. I'll have to look at that.
The history book. But then there was a guy more recently, Don Passman, I think, who wrote some books on the business of music. And then I think there was the Baskerville book, contracts, and what's it called? The Harry Fox Agency and all that.
Yes, Harry Fox. Yes. Yeah. I'm involved with them on a subsidiary company that's there. It's for getting your royalties. Make sure you get your cut.
Yeah. Hey, obviously I can go on like this all day, but I think we're at the point where we should save some for next time.
Yeah.
So why don't we wrap it up here? Oh, I do have one more quick question for you, because I don't think I asked you this last time. What would you be if you weren't a bass player? And I know you're also a singer and a keyboard player, but so something outside of music, what would you be?
Oh man. Probably a football coach.
Really?
Yeah.
For a minute there, I thought University of Michigan was looking for one, but I think they got that all resolved. But
I don't know if you can see, I've got my Wolverines stuff here on the wall, because that's my passion for college football.
Really?
Yeah.
I know
you went there.
That's right. It's funny because I used to say that when I went from University of Michigan to University of Miami, I went from Bo Schembechler to Howard Schnellenberger.
A lot of consonants in there.
Yeah. Well, I was down there when Bernie Kosar and Vinny Testaverde, and Michael Irvin, I think, was there. So that was fun. I remember Vinny Testaverde the day before a big game. He was riding around on a mini bike and he fell off and hurt his leg or something, and his father took the mini bike away.
I remember that. That would have been like 85.
I was there from I was in the graduate program there, so I was there from 84 to 86.
Yeah. I remember that. I was playing drums in those days, doing weddings.
Oh yeah, well, I've done my share of those too. Well, I think one of us has to say, okay, we're done talking now. We'll pick it up later because I think you're enjoying this as much as I am. But thank you so much, Shem. It's really great to see you, and it'd be great to see you in person again. Are you? I can't really see you, but are you still working out?
I'm still working out and sort of trying to stay in shape. My wife is a personal trainer, so there's always that inspiration going on too. So she's pushes me along.
My wife's always trying to get me to do yoga. I was going to say more yoga, but you have to do some yoga in order to do more yoga. But
exactly.
Anyway, we done. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, John.
You're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com, and sometimes things other than just bass come up in these fascinating interviews. I'm John Leapman, founder and first baseman. A lot of people think they're too old or it's too late for them to learn how to play an instrument. So I created ForBassPlayersOnly.com for adults who want to learn to play bass, because I believe you're never too old and it's never too late to experience the joy and the pleasure of making music. ForBassPlayersOnly.com, this is the place to learn bass. Thank you again to my special guest, Shem von Schroeck. I will see you all next week, same time, same place, right here. In the meantime, let's play bass.